should a breeder be picking your puppy for you? So coming from a sport perspective, Amanda, in my opinion, on whether the breeder should be picking a puppy. So what's your thoughts?
No, you can't put me on the spot like that. I think it's a big topic. And so, like Darren said, we have to frame the scope. That's my favorite of like what we're talking about here. So, we're not really talking about pet dogs. We are coming from a sport perspective, and our breed of choice is German Shepherd. So a lot of what we're saying has to be viewed through that specific lens. My overall opinion, if it is other breeds for other purposes, especially for pet purposes, would be different from what I'm going to be saying in this episode from this specific lens.
Yeah, and you can kind of base it off of on our opinion from a German Shepherd end of the world to it, if that's the direction you want to go. Also, if you're on the same belief as us, so even in the pet world, you depending on what you want in a dog, you can base it all around this also. So
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so the first thing I think is finding an ethical breeder, and especially in our sport, a lot of people breed their dogs to better the breed that you're getting. So the German Shepherd, you're basically trying to breed the best of the breed, and then when you go to a breeder and you're looking for a dog, a good breeder is gonna give you a choice. Or if you don't have the ability to get there to see the puppies or get videos on the puppies, they might want to pick one for you also. So, to me, it's that's a discussion that you're going to have with the breeder that you're getting the puppy from. So,
Okay, so let's start by talking about from a breeder's perspective. Okay, so let's start there. Obviously, when we're talking about people with solid morals and ethical breeders. Now, this episode is not solely about ethical breeders or breeding programs. We can get into that in another episode. But let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, ethical breeders, especially from a sport perspective, okay, they're breeding high-level shepherds that they want to see go to a high level. They're sport dogs. They're high drive. They're not for just the average person. They have a very, very strong vested interest in their puppies, and they want to see them to go to the best homes possible for those puppies. And so they do have to be selective, and it's very common to have questionnaires and extensive conversations and even meeting the people and getting, information about the people, like meeting them physically, learning about their there's so many things that breeders will ask and almost like demand of people before selling their puppies. And, that's the way it should be. Now, some pet dogs for other breeds will do the same thing. It's not uncommon to have questionnaires. It's not uncommon to be matched up with the right puppy for you. Now, from the breeder's perspective, like I said, they do, or they should care about the parents of the puppies. They should care about all of the puppies, and they should want to set up each puppy and future owner for the highest level of success. And I understand that. I really do understand from a breeder's perspective the importance of finding and filtering through people. And some of these wait lists go on for a long time. Some breeders are inundated with inquiries about their puppies and future breedings, and they get a lot of interest in their dogs, sometimes even before the female takes or, even the litter's born. And so there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of people wanting puppies. And so as a breeder, you do have to be selective, and it's not abnormal for them to care about where their puppies are going.
yeah, and it's not all about just like selling dogs for money. It's about placing the dog into the right home. And you got to base you may have your opinions on exactly what you want in a puppy or a dog, but you also have to take the recommendations in consideration of the person that's selling it to you. So,
Yeah. Obviously they are with the puppies from, 0 to 8 or 9 weeks or whenever, they sell the puppies. And, they should, if it's a reputable breeding program, have extensive knowledge about breeding, about lineage, about temperament, about their specific lines, about those specific puppies. They should have knowledge about the different uses or sports for those puppies. If you get a person saying they wanted to do Schutzhund, IPO, IGP with the puppy, they should be able to identify which traits in puppies are more desirable for that specific purpose. And this is where my overall opinion, I guess, to sum it up on this topic, would be choosing a breeder is equally, if not more important than choosing a puppy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where it starts. The focus of the conversation as to whether it's right or wrong for breeders to just choose a puppy for you and say, this is it, take it or leave it, really starts with your choice of a breeder. And I think a lot of the stress of choosing a puppy or not being able to choose a puppy really boils down to that first initial decision of the breeder that you select. You should be doing extensive research on the breed that you want, on the intention of getting that breed, whether it's for a sport purpose. That should all be done before you even contact breeders seriously for owning a puppy. Once you do that, okay, and you reach out to breeders, you should be reaching out to multiple breeders. You should be reaching out to reputable breeders. And again, we can go into what that looks like and what to look for and how to do that in different episodes. But you should be doing your due diligence before and asking these questions. How do you place puppies? Am I going to be able to choose my puppy? Am I going to have no choice at all in my puppy? Are we going to have a conversation together to determine which puppy mutually is going to be the best for me? All of these things are very helpful, and they will save you a lot of the distress that could come later on when you either get a puppy chosen for you or not. So I would say that is by far the most important question decision in this whole process.
Yeah, and I think it's really important too, like when you talk to that breeder and you want to pick a puppy, if you can't physically be there to pick the puppy, you may want your videos, you may want to be able to see the pedigree of the dog, and even contact prior clients, that have dogs from them already, and their experiences that they had with these breeders also, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do to eliminate what you don't want. And, I like to be able to pick a puppy myself too, but I also will take the breeder's choice into very consideration on that too. Like I can give you a story for the 3 puppies that I had a choice from. I had a friend that had a breeder in Germany that had a litter coming up, and I contacted the breeder. So he ended up giving me 3 choices, 3 videos of the puppies. I had number 1 pick, and the puppy he picked for me, that was number 1. I really liked the puppy. He also gave me 2 other really good choices that we seen in the video, and Amanda's number 1 pick was the second pick, and I could have had the choice between the 2 for myself. And I ended up choosing the number 1 pick that the breeder picked for me. And Amanda ended up getting the second pick, which ended up being her number 1 pick for herself. So far, our puppies have been everything that we wanted, and we got lucky. So in saying that, it's still very hard to pick a dog at 8 weeks old or a puppy and 12 weeks old. It's still a crapshoot in the sport world, because you may have like the top of the puppy litter, 1 month, and then he's not going to be, or she's not going to be the best at all. So
Puppies change.
yeah.
Puppies change and they grow and they develop. And obviously, other factors play a role into the success of that puppy. You do, your training does, your home life does, any unforeseen circumstances do. Health plays a big role. There's a bunch of things that will change potentially a puppy from being first pick to second, third, or, below. Now, what's interesting about this situation with us and how it played out is that you have to be really honest with who you are and what you're looking for and find a breeder that specializes in that. So obviously Darren explained who he is, the training that he does, his goals, his desires to the breeder. And thankfully, the breeder understood that and had intimate knowledge of the sport and the drives necessary and the temperament of dogs, and was able to work with Darren and say, okay, based off of what you're telling me, this puppy here is my recommendation for you. I really appreciate that as a potential owner, buyer of a puppy. I like to have that mutual conversation. I personally am not the type that would like to be dictated to and said, this is the puppy, you either take it or leave it, and you have no say in the matter. Because like Darren mentioned, I personally would have chosen the second pick. And I'm not just saying that because I knew Darren wanted the first pick or anything like that. Even when, for this specific example, when Darren was looking at just getting one puppy for himself, I encouraged him to choose Max, being the second pick. I felt it deep inside my core that Max belonged here, that he was a star. And I can't explain that feeling in words, but I said to him, this is the one. I know the breeder says this one is first pick. I know you're looking at the videos, which they were very similar, let's be honest.
Yeah.
There wasn't much difference between the three males, but
at that age, you can't really tell much of a difference.
You can't. I mean, unless there's like really, really obvious differences, if they're all sport line, they're all good lines, they're all good puppies, there's not going to be major differences in just the way that they move and they play. But regardless, I encouraged Darren to go with the second pick. Now he didn't, and he and the breeder had a conversation and they aligned. Okay. And that's the ideal situation, is when what you're looking for is properly relayed to a breeder and they understand fully what it is you're looking for, and they have the puppy that you're looking for. Then the puzzle pieces fall really nicely and it is seamless. Now, I would like to see in this situation where if Darren would have said, that's great, I appreciate you recommending the first pick. However, there's something about the second pick that I really want. I believe he should have that prerogative and be able to say, well, my preference is the second pick. And I know your opinion states that first pick is the one for me. However, this is the puppy that I want. Yeah. Be able to buy him, and that's it. I would have an issue if a breeder didn't like that. Now, of course, you hear them out and you understand the reasons why, but I do think it boils down to just having a conversation and being on the same page.
Yeah. And then, in that situation, I was given 3 choices.
Yeah.
And I had the pick out of the 3 anyway. So, but if that scenario would have changed where it said, this is the puppy I want to give you for that, and I say, no, I don't want that puppy, I want this one, and he goes, no, I'm not going to sell you that one, then I, as a buyer, would have to go, well, then I'm not getting what I want, and then I'm going to have to pass. So, yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes, is they get sucked into something, and then they don't feel like they have an out.
Yeah.
Just remember, like, if you lose a deposit, you lose a deposit, and at least you're not getting something that you don't want.
Yeah.
And then, like, a good breeder will give your deposit back if you don't end up taking the puppy anyways. So.
Yeah. And like you said, this is a big decision, and it's really easy to become emotional. And this is where, I can speak more on that than Darren can, obviously. But, I understand when you have your heart set on a puppy and you see the pictures and the videos and they're all so cute and you want it. I can understand, how heartbreaking that can be to not get that, or to not be able to get the puppy that you feel you have a special connection with, or one that you like, even just the look of, which you should never buy a puppy or a breed just based off of the look. But at the end of the day, buying a puppy and having that hopefully 10 plus year commitment of owning that dog, that's a big commitment. You're putting in time, money, energy, and you do need to be able to get what you're wanting. Now, breeders can help you determine what exactly it is that you want and use their professional opinions to help steer you in the right direction, because they may know things about the puppies that you don't, obviously. But I do think that it has to be mutual. And if you come across a breeder that says there's no conversation, you're taking what I recommend and that's it, take it or leave it, that to me would be a little bit of a red flag.
Big red flag, for
Yeah.
sure. They obviously have something to hide. These are the type of people that may just be selling dogs just to be selling dogs and for money. And far as I'm concerned, to be ethical, you shouldn't be just selling dogs for money. You should be, obviously you want to make money on your dogs. You put the time and effort into the breeding and stuff like that. But you want to make sure that they're selling them for the right purpose. And you're getting good, stable, and solid dogs with limited or to no health issues. And that comes down to your research. Like if you're just pulling dogs out of backyards because they had an accidental breeding, it's just like you don't know what you're going to get. And you can get the best of both breeds or you can get the worst of both breeds, like for mixed breeding, say. But in the sport world, most breeders and hopefully all breeders would breed to the highest standards that they can, and give you the choice of what you want and what you're looking for, and give you recommendations of what you need. So
recommendations are always good. Even having a couple of different options, I like that. Saying here's my top 2 recommendations for you, then you can decide between the 2 of them. To me, that's fair. But if they don't give you that choice at all, they're not willing to have a conversation, that's a red flag. The opposite to be true, if they don't ask you any questions about yourself, they give you free reign to pick whatever you want. They don't share videos or pictures or invite you out if that's possible. That's another big red flag. There's lots of them. You really have to use your best judgment. And unfortunately, the tips or the insights that we provide here are not going to be as specific for everybody across the board. But hopefully this is helpful. And you should never steer away from a breeder that wants to work with you and choose a puppy for you and with you. As long as they're having a conversation, it's extremely common for that to be the case. And it can actually be really beneficial. A lot of times, Darren's had this recently with our 2 puppies. We got great dogs out of it. His previous dog was chosen for him in a way, and that worked out better than expected. So, you should just be forthcoming, answer the questions, and work with that breeder. But at the end of the day, it's all opinion. You can give what you want out of a dog, and at 8 weeks, it's hard for a breeder to say definitively, this is what that puppy's going to turn into. This is what the end result is going to be, because there's a lot of different factors. And at the end of the day, that's just their personal opinion. Yeah. They believe that puppy is the first pick male from their personal experience. And so you have to remember, to take that for what it's worth. And that's why you need to choose a breeder that you trust and respect and believe has knowledge about the sport or the purpose of the puppy and breeding, and has a reputable program, because what they believe to be a first pick male, that may not be in alignment with what you think makes a first pick male.
Yeah, and you can also have breedings too where it's if you look at through the genetics and the gene pool, they could be a type of dog that may need an experienced handler. I'd have a lot of respect for a breeder saying, you know what, I cannot sell you one of these dogs just for the fact of inexperience, and that these dogs may need an experienced handler, and there are breedings out there like that. So, it's just like you really want to take their recommendations into consideration, but ultimately in the end, it should be your choice also. So.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we got lucky. We got a good group of dogs in our kennel. So they're great between kennel and house and our daily life and sport. And that's what the German Shepherd should be. And like they're the most amazing dogs that somebody could ever own. And even for a first-time handler, we would recommend one for them if you pick the right one and get the right dog for you. So
I think that just about wraps it up. If you guys have any other questions, comments, please leave them down below. We'd love to continue this conversation. If we need to do a follow-up part based off of any questions or comments, we'll be sure to do that. If you're interested in other aspects of breeding or choosing puppies or the breed in particular, let us know. Otherwise, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Schützenlife, and we'll see you in the next episode.
take care.